and welcome to the virtual book launch of Tough Love, How a Limpopo Homeboy Became a World Champ Turned Lawyer by Lovemore and Ndou. My name is Jennifer Malik. I'm the editor of the reading list, and we're hosting this event tonight along with Jonathan Ball Publishers. In Tough Love, Lovemore tells the story of his tough start to life, his boxing career, including how he was never knocked out in 64 professional bouts, and how he transitioned from combat in the ring to confrontation in the courtroom in a successful post-boxing career as a lawyer. Today, he has his own practice in Sydney, Australia, and he joins us from down under this evening, where I believe it's early in the morning.
Good morning and good evening.
Good evening, good morning. Yeah. In conversation with Lovemore this evening is renowned journalist and boxing columnist Bongani Magasela. Hi, Bongani. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Jennifer, and good morning to the champ.
Morning, Bongani.
Please leave your questions about the book, your questions for Lovemore or Bongani in the comments section wherever you're watching this video, on Facebook or on YouTube. If we have any questions, we'll turn to those towards the end of the launch during the Q&A. So whatever's on your mind, I'm sure Lovemore and Bongani will be answering any questions you have, whether it's about boxing, about writing, about the legal profession, about journalism. Feel free to engage. Without further ado, let me hand over to Bongani to take over the conversation and enjoy the launch.
Thank you very much for making me famous when I am actually a non-entity, in the field of journalism and boxing. First and foremost, I want to say there is a possibility that I may run out of, appropriate words to communicate with Lovemore, because I'm super excited about this momentous occasion. I mean, this man, for me, really, like I said, I don't have appropriate words to describe what he has achieved under difficult, trying, impossible, situations. I mean, boxing started, I assume, in the 1800s. And men and women of integrity have done wonders in the sport of boxing. But outside the sport of boxing, it's a shame. Here is a man from from nothing. He packs his bags because he feels he is not going to reach for the stars in his country. He goes into a foreign country where he knows no one. That is courage. He gets into that country. Obviously, he's not going to get paid, good purse monies if he does get fights. But the little pennies that he earned, he did not go for gold, chains, fancy shoes and stuff like that. But he invested his money in his future, education, which is key to success. I am talking about a man who has done something that I can proudly and arrogantly say, no one will ever achieve it. 6 degrees, read my lips, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 degrees. He doesn't end up there. He opens his own law firm. I mean, I don't know how to describe what Lovemore has achieved. It's, for me, if I had my way, this man's name should have already been included in the book of, genius. That's all I can say, to honor Lovemore, a fellow countryman who has never turned his back against his country, South Africa, despite the fact that things did not go the way he wanted to. The man is forever willing to lend his hand to fellow South Africans. He looks after fellow boxers who are struggling financially. I beg your pardon, me personally, This man is never shy. When I say to him, my brother, the ship is actually sinking. Lovemore, kind-hearted somebody, very humble despite his humongous achievements. I am bleeding because Australia has already inducted him in the Hall of Fame. In his country of birth, Lovemore is a former 3 times world champion, a lawyer, and that's it. For now, I choose to stop there only to say to you, Lovemore, I hope and pray that one day when history books of boxing in this country and achievers outside boxing as human beings, your name will rank high, my brother.
Thank you for that great introduction. Great words. Yes, it's. I'm actually excited to be speaking to you. I've known you for so many years, and to get where I am today, it's because of people, like you. Often people, look at me and say, "Well, he's successful," but I didn't get here on my own. It was through the help that I got from other people, and you're one of those people, and you're one of the people that encouraged me to get where I am today. So, I'm really pleased, to be talking to you tonight, and thanks for that great, introduction.
Let's get to the reason why we are talking the book. It's about the awareness that, the future generations. I'm going to be brutal honest. We are on transit. Brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers have left us. It's a matter of time before we join them. We don't know when will we go. But the future generations, specifically a poor child, black child in this country, will lay their hands on this book. Before I get to it, I just want to find out from you, Chen, why Tough Love? When you could have easily chosen a title, for me, an appropriate title would have been Rags to Riches.
Well, it's been a tough life, but still with love. That's the best way to describe it. And I mean, if you look at the book, the book is all about my life journey. From the little, shanty town of Musina, and all the struggles that I overcame. All the hurdles that I had to go through to get where I am today. So you could think of it as some tough love. So yeah, that's one of the that's the reason I gave it the name Tough Love. It wasn't
the reason why, Champ, I am saying, if I were to be given, the golden opportunity to suggest a title, Rags to Riches, it's because I don't know your financial status. But if you were to sit back and look at the money you spend educating yourself, you would be far in terms of the digits in the bank. You are rich, my brother. Education, there is no one who can take it away from you. It's there forever, like I said, for generations, to be motivated. Specifically, a poor child who is from, the dungeon, no hope, sometimes even contemplating committing suicide because there is no one to tend to. But you decided to pack your bags and go to a country where you knew no one. And look at you today. Your name rang among the greatest achievers in this whole world.
Yeah, look, I agree with you. When you say, education is wealth. It definitely is wealth. I always tell people that it's great to have a great, a sporting career and become a world champion. But that's just status. And along the way, a young, hungry fighter that's better than you who come and beat you and take the title away. Okay? But with education, no one will ever take your education away. That's something you live with up until you die. So, yes, I would agree with you. It was a great investment, to invest in education. And which is one of the reasons why I wrote the book, because, I'm hoping to inspire some of, the young up-and-coming people, young and up-and-coming, children, I'm trying to send a message out there to the youth, and other sports people, in general. There are so many sad stories, sad endings, in boxing. I want to try and change that and make people realize that, you don't have to, finish your career as a pauper. If you invest properly, educate yourself, you have something to fall back on at the end of your career. And look, I'm hoping some kid is going to pick up this book one day, read it, and realize, that, life is not meant to be easy. Life is a journey. Life is, it's like a circle. One day you're up there, one day you're down there. But, you keep moving. You don't stop. And I think the biggest message I wanted to send out there is, I need people to know that, nothing is impossible in this world. If you put your heart and soul into it and dedication, if you think of, my story, where I come from, I come from a very, very poor family, and when I say poor, I mean to an extent that, sometimes we go to bed, without a meal, for a day or two. I had to walk to school bare feet, when eventually I could afford to buy school shoes, I had to wear the same shoes to school, to church, to any other event. I would wear those shoes until they were smiling at me. So that's just how tough it was. But but like every other child, I always had a dream, and we all have dreams, but it's only those who work towards their dreams that make their dreams come true. How often do you hear children, saying, "Oh, when I grow up, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a pilot. I want to be a school teacher. I want to be a lawyer." But it's only those, who work towards their dream, who make it a reality, who make it come true. So, we all have dreams, but you gotta work towards your dream. So despite from coming from that, poor family, poor background, I had a dream, and I chased the dream. I didn't just sit back and say I want to be a world champion, but not train like a world champion. I trained like a world champion to become a world champion. Okay, I'm the first ever world champion to come from Messina. There's never been one before, and I remember when I was coming up, and I used to tell people that one day I'm gonna be a world champion, and some people used to laugh at me, saying, "You're crazy." And I used to tell them, "Look, one day you're gonna be sitting at home, and you're gonna be watching me on TV performing in Las Vegas." And some people used to laugh at me, but I pursued, I chased my dream, I believed, I worked hard, and I ended up becoming a world champion, and I think the other thing with me, it's, when I want to do something, I want to be really good at it. I didn't want to, for example, I just didn't want to be, known as the local champion or someone who once won, provincial title. No. I wanted to become a world champion. And I didn't just want to win one world title. I wanted to win, one or two or three, world titles. And same thing, when I educated myself, I just didn't want to have one degree, and I wanted to pursue, and have as many degrees as I possibly can. When I started my law firm, when I became a lawyer, I didn't want to work for anybody for the rest of my life. I wanted to start my own practice, and assist other people and give them, an opportunity to work, That's just my way of thinking. And I would like to see some young children, to think their way. And I can tell them right now, if they think their way, the world is theirs. And that's that's the biggest message I'm trying to send in, from this book. Look, I was born in South Africa during, apartheid, so it was really tough. You know better than I do. It was really tough, for us, Africans, during apartheid, but I witnessed, a lot of atrocities, committed, against my friends, family members. I have a friend that actually died in my arms, when he got shot by the police. I was a victim, of police brutality. I still carry a scar on my face every day. They broke my arm. My boxing career almost ended before it even started. But despite that, I always, try to turn, the negative into a positive. One thing that a lot of people don't know, which I share in my book, I didn't start school until I was 9 years of age. That's actually late to start school.
Yeah.
But I didn't want that to stop me from, pursuing, my dreams. The message being, it doesn't really matter, whether you have a bad start in life, but if you work hard, you can actually do better than those who had a better start in life. Okay. It goes, often when people ask me about boxers, to define boxers, what type of boxers do I know? I always say there are three types of boxers, the natural talented, the less talented but works hard, the natural talented that doesn't, work hard. Now, you find, the natural talented that really work hard, they go on to become pound for pound the best fighters in the world. Like Mayweather. Okay, he's talented, natural. He's got natural talent, but he works really hard. Makes him a great fighter. He's pound for pound the best. And then you got some other fighters that are natural talented, but so lazy. But then what happens? The less talented ones that really, really work hard, end up doing better, outperforming the natural talents who are lazy. Okay, it's the same, with your life. You could have a bad start in life, but if you work hard, you could actually outperform those, who had a better start in life. And if you look at my life, that's exactly how it turned out. I had to work hard to get where I am today. So I'm hoping. Even with boxing, it wasn't all smooth. I had to go through a lot. I talk a lot. It's all in my book. I had to deal with some managers and promoters. The sport, in itself, is full of cutthroats. Most managers, some managers and promoters, will sell their own mother for $1. So it's all about, making money, at the expense of a fighter. So, I had to deal with some of the promoters and managers, who behaved their way. I talk about it in my book. So it wasn't a smooth ride, and I mean, for example, I had fights, a good example was when I fought Shambe Mitchell. in Atlantic City. A fight that I took on a week's notice. Anyone that watched the fight, will tell you that I actually won that fight because I beat him, but I didn't get the decision. Just the politics in the sports. Now, this is the funny thing. Years later, I won the same title. Now, the promoter who promoted that fight, who was actually managing Shambe Mitchell at the time, wanted to sign me up. And then he actually said to me, "You know what, Lovemore? When you fought Shambe, had you signed up with me then, you would have won the world title. You would have walked away with the world title." What does that tell you? That I actually won the fight, but because of the politics involved, they took it away from me. But despite that, I didn't give up. And that's the whole another message I'm trying to send, to people out there. Don't never give up. You're gonna have a lot of setbacks in life, but just always remember they're always preparing you for some success in the future. So I didn't give up. After that, I could have walked away and say, "Well, why am I wasting my time, in this sport, if I'm gonna, get robbed all the time." But I didn't, and that's just one example I'm giving. I've had some other bad dealings, with promoters. Even in Australia, I was working with one of the, at the time he was a top promoter, Bill Modi, and for years, I kept winning. I was sitting at number 2 WBC in the world, but I was never getting a shot at the title. And I was thinking to myself, and I was just sitting there watching, the title changing hands, and I was thinking, oh, what's going on? I'm sitting at number 2, and he kept telling me, yeah, you're gonna fight for the world title. You're gonna fight for the world title. But then I realized, that years later I found out that he actually had he had a deal, he had a contract, with one of the sports networks here in Australia, where they would actually pay him an X amount of money every month for as long as he had me and another fighter, Shannon Taylor, as part of his promotional company. Then what he would do, 1 month he would have me fight and headlining the show. The following month he would have Shannon headlining the show, and he was getting paid a lot of money. So he knew that if he had given me the opportunity to fight for the world title, and if I won the world title, then I would demand more money, and if he didn't give me the money, I'll probably walk away, and go with other promoters. And we had a clause there in the contract, that demanded him to pay me more if I won the world title. So he was playing the game, just holding me back, and eventually we had a fallout. And one of the reasons why he really had control on me was because when I went to Australia, I was on what used to be called a distinguished talent visa. So with the distinguished talent visa, it meant that I had to show that I had distinguished talent. So I had to keep on winning my fights, But he was also my sponsor through the immigration. So, he kept threatening me if I didn't do what he wanted, he would pull out my sponsorship at the immigration. That would mean that I'll get put on the first plane back to South Africa. So eventually, when I became a permanent resident, I just told him, you know what? No, I'm not fighting anymore. Okay, either you release me or you allow me to buy myself out of the contract, but he wouldn't, so I ended up being, I had to just sit back for almost 14 months, out of action. I had to sit back until my contract ran out. But something great came out of that, something positive. And this is where I'm trying to explain that, in life, you're going to have some setbacks, but always remember those setbacks, prepares you for something great. It was during that time that, I had these contractual problems with this promoter. Then you know what? I decided I'm gonna go study. I thought to myself, you know what? I'm not just gonna sit back and waste, the whole 14 months. That's when I went and enrolled myself at university. At first I was gonna do a communications degree. I was thinking of doing journalism. And I recall, I read an assignment. It was an essay, and I was talking about, the situation in South Africa. It's funny because I'm always, even at school, most of my assignments were always based on, in South Africa, and I was arguing, the issue about, poverty, in South Africa, and I was arguing that, South Africa, Africa, including South Africa, it's Africa's not a poor, continent, Africa is actually a very, very rich continent, it's full of, natural resources, but, Africa is poor because it's been poorly governed, and I also argued that, the biggest problem is, there is an unequal distribution, of national resources. So, to cut the story short, my lecturer read, my assignment, and she called me aside, she said, Lamo, I think, you should consider, studying law or, politics. But I already had it in my mind, because of another incident that happened back in South Africa when I was about 16. It was always my idea that, someday I might become a lawyer. But at that time, I was thinking of, going into journalism. But when she told me that, then I just thought, you know what? Maybe I should enroll in law. And then, the following year, I enrolled in a double degree in law and communications. And I just kept on studying, But the point I'm trying to make here, again, is those issues I had with the promoter, even though I didn't fight for 14 months, prepared me for a great, for a career in the future. Look at me today, I'm a lawyer, probably, one of the most educated people, educated athletes, so don't ever give up, because, you have a bit of a setback. And even with boxing, even with that, when I stopped fighting for 14 months, remember at the time I was sitting at number 2 WBC. So when I eventually, got released from the contract and I was free to fight again, I had lost my ranking. Okay, from coming from number 2 in the world to nowhere in the world. So I had to start all over again. Okay, so it's like starting all over again from fresh, and it wasn't easy, because I had to travel overseas, in America, fighting, whenever you're fighting in a foreign country, you're always treated as an opponent. It's not easy to win in a foreign country. But I had to rebuild my career, so I didn't just give up. I could have given up and said, you know what, I'm a permanent resident now. I don't need to fight. No, I'm studying. I don't need to fight. But no. Because I had my mindset. I knew what I wanted in life. And I've set my goals in life, and I've pursued them. So that's another message that I'm trying to send out in the book.
Yeah, I'm sitting here listening to you, and I'm saying to myself, one thing that you are basically sharing with the world of boxing and the country at large, and human beings in general. If you are employed to be a sweeper, do your sweeping the best you could or you can. Love it, enjoy it, but try to pursue your dream. Basically, what I'm trying to say is what I picked up from this well-written book. Or before I get to that, let me start by correcting you, my brother. You keep saying the message, I am trying. And you go as far as to say, I hope. Let me tell you, you are not trying to send any message. You have already sent it successfully. 1. 2, don't hope the book will inspire. It has already done that. Let me share a short story. My daughter, she's 17 years old, my last born. She sits with me to watch boxing every Friday. I end up, talking serious stuff to her about boxing. These guys, they don't get the recognition that they deserve. To be a boxer, it takes everything. Boxers by right should not be compared to footballers, because football is a team sport. You get past the ball, you give it to your teammate, and you can relax. Whereas in boxing, it's you and that man wants to kill you. Everything with boxing is pain, sacrifices, hard work, pain from the gym, pain from sparring, preparing for the fight, pain to get that fight, pain to be paid your money, pain to share your money. It's all about pain. Yet when these guys, the boxers, get paid their purse monies, 99% of them, they misuse their money. I don't know whether it's because they have been, suffering for quite some time before they get a fight to be able to earn some money. So she knows a lot. The day I came home with the book and she looked at it, I told her the story. Guess what? That book became her book because she knew a lot about boxing. She says to me, Dad, but you've told me terrible stories about boxers getting paid millions, this and that, but they die as paupers. Here is this uncle. You're saying he's got 6 degrees. He's a lawyer. He owns his own law firm, which simply means then that there is a lot to be done in boxing. But the problem is maybe these boxers needed someone like Uncle Lovemore to write this book. Can you please hand over this book to me and make it my book? It's her book. You have already inspired her. I know for the fact that she has already shared the story with her schoolmates. You've done it successfully, my brother. Don't doubt it. You've encouraged, you've inspired, you have sent the message loud and clear. The one thing I want to find out from you before I go back to where I was, despite all your humongous achievements, Lovemore, what makes you to remain this humble self and a modest human being?
Look, I think it just comes, it's natural. That's just the person I am, and I would like to be, I would like people to think of me, as a good person. Okay. Look, I was really touched by what you said about your daughter. I'm pleased to hear that, my book is already, inspiring, some youth out there, some teenagers out there. Look, I remember you and I once had a conversation before, and these were your words. You say to me, I'm the voice of the voiceless.
Yeah.
And this is because, you and I were talking about, that I've got this ability, to speak to people and share my story. The thing is, we all have stories. We all have a story to tell. But not everybody gets the opportunity to tell their story. So I'm pretty lucky, to be in a position where I could share my story and what I've experienced is not unique. I'm sure there's a lot of people who've experienced worse than what I've experienced in life. And I was a victim of apartheid like everybody else. But this is what I always tell people, and this is a message I want, people to get, they gotta get this message into their head. Yes, apartheid was wrong. I don't condone, apartheid at all. But the thing is, when you break it down, when you look at it, apartheid is not just a problem of South Africa. Apartheid is a problem of the whole world. Just because it's not written into legislation doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It does exist, And I always tell people, and I write about it in my book as well. As far as I'm concerned, if you taught someone from excelling, because of their skin color, their gender, their sexual preference, that's a form of apartheid. If you say, I won't work with that guy because he's white, but that guy's never done anything wrong by you, that's a form of apartheid. If you say, I won't work with that guy because he's Zulu, I won't work with the Zulu people, but they've never done anything wrong by you, that's apartheid. If you say, I'm not going to work with her, she's a lesbian, I don't like the guy, he's gay, but he's never done anything wrong by you, that's a form of apartheid. So, the point I'm trying to make is, apartheid is the problem of the world. Yes, we were exposed to apartheid, but we can't keep blaming everything on apartheid. Okay? It's been more than 26 years, since South Africa became a democratic state. But if you look at the current situation in South Africa today, truth be told, it's way worse than when, than this, the situation, during apartheid, people had jobs, when we had that racist regime. Okay, look at what's happening today. Okay, people are struggling. I could talk about, the current, rioting that's going on, the current looting that's going on. If you come, if you look at it, you ask yourself, was the whole thing really about Zuma? It's all started as a free Zuma campaign, but then it turned into looting. Why? It's simple, because people are frustrated. People are frustrated by a government that's failed them. Okay, it's been 26 years, like I said, 26 years later, you still have people, living in shacks. You still have a child going to bed, without a meal. Okay? And I always tell people, the worst thing that ever happened in South Africa, was the introduction of the Black Economic Empowerment. Okay? It was a great idea. Okay? And I think the intention was great, but the only people that really benefited from it, is those in power. Now, this is where it went wrong. It allowed them to taste the lifestyle that they were not used to without even having to work for it. Okay? Now, to maintain that lifestyle, they had to steal from the public. Okay? And that's where corruption started. Okay? They have to maintain that lifestyle that they tasted without having to work for it. So you got to continue stealing to maintain that lifestyle. And that's where the problem is. Now, you have an issue of self-enrichment, and then you've got a government that's, that's continually promising people, but not delivering. Okay? So you look at the whole thing about looting, it's just people frustrated. People are just frustrated. And I can tell you where it comes down to, and African people, okay, we're not lazy people, we're hardworking people. Okay, if we're given an opportunity, we will always excel. Okay? The problem is Africans are denied opportunities. They denied that equal opportunity, and which has been a problem. You know, it was a problem during apartheid. It's a problem now. When during this democratic South Africa, and I'm a good example. To prove that that when you're given equal opportunity, you can always excel. And I had to travel overseas to find equal opportunity. I had to move abroad. I came to Australia, and there was opportunities for me there, to educate myself. I educated myself. Okay, and opportunities for me to work, and excel in life and succeed. That's what South Africans need. They just need that equal opportunity. They don't need. They're not asking for free handouts. Okay, but what's going on now is because of frustration. Because they've been failed. Okay, now going back to what I said earlier on, we can't really keep blaming everything on apartheid, and we can't keep on making everything about race. Okay, you've got some leaders, who they turn everything into race. Okay, if your car doesn't start, you're gonna blame it on a white man. Okay, let's stop making everything about race. Let's work together. Let's move forward. I had to come to a foreign country. This is the funny thing, and I actually write about it in my book. I recall when I first, because this is how I ended up in Australia. I had an opportunity to, fight in Australia in 1995. So I traveled to Australia for the first time. But I recall before I left Australia, before I left South Africa, I did some research, about Australia, and one of the things I found out was, Australia used to have a Keep Australia Wide policy. So I remember thinking to myself, oh, I might be making a mistake here. But I was thinking, I'll probably get treated the same way, I was treated in South Africa back then because I was black. So I was a bit cautious, but I remember, when I got to Australia, people didn't see color in me. People saw a human being. Okay, and that's what made me fall in love with the country. And I remember after that, after I came back to South Africa following that fight, I thought, what? I'm moving to Australia. And that's exactly what I did. I came here, I worked hard, I had the opportunity to work hard, and that's why I'm where I am today. Now, my fellow South Africans, then, you need to stop making everything about race. And my fellow South African leaders, you need to provide people with opportunities because there is a lot of talent in South Africa. There is a lot of talent there, whether it's sports, or just anything else, or education, or music, or anything. There's a lot of talent, but, you can have all the talent, but without, getting a break in life, without the opportunity, you're going nowhere with it, with the talent.
Yeah, I'm sitting here listening to you, my brother, and there's something that comes into my mind. This book is not meant for sports people. This book is meant for human beings. It's educational. Has it not crossed your mind, Lovemore, that you and the publisher, try and forge some working relationship with the Department of Education in South Africa, where this book can be available to every up and coming, child in South Africa, not because you want to encourage them to become lawyers, but you want to say to them, if you dream it, you can make it.
Yes, look, I've had that discussion already, with, my publishers, Jonathan Ball Publishers. I'm great. I'm actually happy, and I've got a great team working with me, in Australia. Actually, there are two versions of this book, but it's the same book, if you look, there are two covers. So if you look at this cover, this is what was published in Australia.
Sure.
And then in South Africa, you've got this one. So in Australia, the book was published by New Holland Publishers, and in South Africa, it's Jonathan Ball Publishers. And believe me, they've been both publishers have been a great team to work with, and we are always sharing ideas, as to how to move forward with the book. And I've also got a great team working with me, especially I've got a great agent, in Arthur Stanley, who's always pushing, to get things happening. Look, to answer your question, yes, it did cross our minds, about, approaching, the Department of Education, but knowing, the problems you always have in South Africa, it's, going back to corruption and all that, I don't think it's going to be easy to convince them, to buy the book and give it to students. So what I'm going to do myself, I've already told the publishers, I'm going to donate some of the books to some schools. Great. Share my story, Like I said, I didn't write the book with an intention to make money. I wrote the book with an intention to share a story with others, again, hoping that, it might, encourage someone, to work hard, okay? It might inspire someone. So, yes, I'm personally going, to donate some of the books, to some schools, and I'm hoping, something good will come out of it. And again, and I agree with you, when I wrote this book, it wasn't just about boxing. Okay, boxing is just a part of it. This book covers everything from politics, anything. It covers everything, even my personal life. I even share my own personal, my personal life. So yeah, it's not just a book for for athletes. It's not just a book for boxers. It's not just a book for sports people. It covers everything in general.